Marathon Server Slam is upcoming this week, as is the full launch later next week, but today I want to take a bit of time to talk about some information that was released that touches on some key fundamentals and framework of the game's experience upcoming, that being network and security. While it's not too attractive of a topic or anything that's really attention-grabbing of a discussion, it's something that dictates how every single raid will go for you in Marathon, in making sure that each engagement you have is fair to a connection standpoint and from combating bad actors that will attempt to cheat. In a game where permadeath and gear loss is a thing, integrity is something that absolutely should be at the forefront of the discussion. Today, we're running down Bungie's plans for what that includes with Marathon. So drop your thoughts as we go along, drop a like if you guys enjoy the video, and make sure to subscribe to stay updated with all things Marathon, Arc Raiders, and even more FPS content. I'd love to have you in the community, but for now, let's get into it. So earlier today, Bungie announced via a quick little teaser video some networking details, but the bulk of the information came from an accompanying blog post over on the Bungie website, entitled Marathon, Networking, and Security. It details some high-level and more detailed pieces of what to expect with the game's underlying framework. In this, it states, Taos 84 is a dangerous world where death is certain. That said, we want you to know that your deaths are due to your own mistakes or enemy outplays, not because your run was compromised by network issues, cheaters, or the hardware hosting your connection to the world. No network or security model can guarantee perfection, but we're committed to protecting the Marathon competitive experience and ensuring everyone has their fair chance at exfilling with a backpack full of sweet loot. Then they listed the higher level details of Marathon's networking and framework, saying Marathon's dedicated servers are fully authoritative on key combat and looting actions, providing a layer of protection against cheaters. New networking systems allow your movement and actions to feel responsive while the server carefully tracks each bullet to its target, even with high packet loss. Fog of War limits the regions of a map that an individual player's client can have knowledge of, limiting the effectiveness of wall hacks and other cheats, saying they've rebuilt their game security stack from the ground up for Marathon, in addition to an extra layer of security provided by BattlEye. If you lose connection mid-run, you can reconnect and continue playing that run. If connection recovery fails due to an issue with Bungie's servers or network infrastructure, they'll attempt to return that starting gear to all impacted players. Anyone found cheating will be permabanned from playing Marathon forever, no second chance, and product security is never fully solved, but they'll continue to invest in their game's security systems. So okay, some pretty eye-catching, high-level details here. But to expand a little further on it, let's break this down piece by piece. For their dedicated server networking, they said their new server authority model means that invalid client actions will be rejected without impacting other players' experiences. Now, they said this is something to combat things like teleporting, unlimited ammo, and damage manipulation, which, from my understanding here, and I could be wrong on this, it really just means that they're kind of offloading some of the actions that would be player side that could be manipulated by the player's client, something on their system, and moving those actions to more server-side models that are hosted by Bungie themselves, meaning that you won't have the ability to end up tampering with any of that kind of stuff, which is cool. They said they paired this model with new systems for client-side prediction and rewind, allowing your movements and actions to feel immediate and responsive in the moment, but the server can also correct your view of the world for what actually happens. Now, this is where the discussion kind of shifts a bit more towards networking and connection, saying then that it includes server-side adjudication of every hit with per-shot tracking and redundant transmission to reduce the effect of packet loss and ensure that every bullet lands, i.e., basically a predictive model here that will allow you to, even in those packet loss and low connection experiences, you're not going to have that wild mismatch of what you feel like you're doing versus what's actually happening on the server. They also stated it means that players with good internet connection can't be shot around cover, kind of like mitigating any of that lag compensation you might see elsewhere, which has been a problem for many shooter games in the past because of that, again, imbalance in what people's connection ends up becoming. Fog of War is an interesting system here because they mentioned this is a system that the game's server will limit the regions of the map that players have knowledge of based off of what they're able to make sense of in their surroundings. So this, they say, it will cut down on things like wall hacks and other cheats like that, which is rather interesting because, like, the way that I'm anticipating this is that it kind of comes down to a render distance almost, where yes, if cheats do exist here at this, you're going to end up seeing players through walls and different levels of environment that may be between the two players. I'm sure you've seen a lot of gameplay clips out there where people are just aimbotting, wall hacking, and seeing like the outlines of players all the way across the world. It seems like with this Fog of War, it's going to limit that, where in theory, if there's a cheater on one side of the map and there's another player on the exact opposite side of the map, they're not going to be discovered even with those cheats enabled. So this kind of just cutting some of those cheats at their knees at their most fundamental state, which obviously no cheats is the best way to go about this in the ideal scenario, but the world isn't ideal. There's going to be people that do cheat out there. So limiting it in any capacity is definitely a nice thing. One mention they made of their client security, they say they use a combination of both third-party game software, that being BattlEye, and then also their own proprietary security layers, which includes both user mode and kernel level components. So this will be something that is a larger investment into anti-cheat, but we just don't have any idea at how effective this will be until it's actually out there in the wild. Though they did say that this is kind of all they're going to say about this, because sharing details and methodologies could end up allowing these cheat providers to figure out what their anti-cheat is looking for, thus allowing them to bypass it or work around those measures, which obviously we don't want to see happening. Other things to note in regards to sort of anti-cheat and things like security like this is that they said they're constantly collecting data, that they have a back-end analysis system to look for unusual gameplay patterns and anomalies, but they also have a security analyst team that are working hard on this. So while it's something that I'm sure that there's definitely tool sets and databases of things that compile all of this and kind of do heat maps or outliers that is very easy to recognize by these analysts, there is a team that will be working with the security here of this, dedicated solely to these types of things, versus like a system that in another game may be more driven just to AI handling these sort of reports. They also mentioned that they strive to keep progress safe from item duplication and other economic cheats, so that's something that it seems like they're not going to have any tolerance for as well. The biggest thing when we talk about all of this stuff leading up in terms of like, hey, cheaters are going to be out there in the world, we're going to do everything we can to combat that. The biggest thing, though, they said, is that they're taking a strong stance against cheating, and anyone found to be cheating or developing cheats will be permanently banned from playing Marathon forever. No second chances. Now, while there will be an appeal system, because they said, even in their words, no system is perfect, it is something that's definitely nice to see that those bad faith actors, they're out of there immediately. That's one thing that I love Arc Raiders, and I love everything that that game has to offer. I know it's kind of a weird thing to say when we're talking about Marathon, because it kind of seems like it's a very sharp divide here of either people love Arc Raiders and dislike Marathon or vice versa. But liking both of them, that's the one thing that I really do wish that Arc Raiders was just a lot more strict on. I don't think that you need to allow these people that are acting in bad faith an option to come back in such a capacity. So big fan of that statement of just permabanning one and done. But it seems like that's a little bit of their plans here for networking and how the game fundamentally works, plus how they're going to combat cheaters and bad faith actors. With the game coming out later next week, the server slam coming out later this week, it's one of those things that I'm expecting quite a bit of information to come out here, officially speaking, so we'll keep you in the loop with everything that comes out to follow. But for the time being, just wanted to fill you guys in on some of the newest information here relating to Marathon as we fast approach the server slam here in a couple of days. So let me know your thoughts down below. Is there anything in particular you like out of this? Do you like the one and done approach to cheaters? Do you like some of the mitigations they've added for some of the networking? Let me know. But if you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing running all things Marathon, Arc Raiders, and even more FPS content. I'd love to have you in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.